Alright, so welcome back guys to another video. This is the Heim joint kit that I bought off of Backwoods Diesel. They're from Easley, South Carolina. Cost me about $25 shipped. And the issue that you saw a second ago of me working the paddle, yeah, that's a very dangerous issue, because if that pin breaks or it gets to the point where you can't shift gears, you're going to have an issue. So this is a fix. Now you can get this off of eBay, you can get it off wherever. I wanted to support Backwoods Diesel, so I bought it off of them. Now it's basically just a Heim joint, and the pin that your rod would normally just sit on to actuate back and forth, it's going to get replaced with this Allen head bolt here. And now it's an easy fix, but it does have some specifics. You cut your rod too long or too short, it ain't going to work. So the clutch push rod, in my case, it's actually completely came out of the master cylinder, so it's just kind of hanging out. And I had an issue a while back where right now, as you saw, it's zip tied, and that's because it wants to fall off, because the little bushing that goes bad that this is for is gone, and it allowed it to completely fall off. And if I hadn't have been going straight, I would have been in an accident, but I wasn't. I was lucky. So I said, forget it, we'll just fix this and go on. So here we are. All right, so just a further introduction to this, and this is your push rod. It should not be like this. It should have a little collar out there to keep that from falling out, but since we can move this over, I can do this later when I get a new clutch master cylinder, which comes with the push rod installed correctly. But this ovaling is your whole problem. Basically what happens is your bushing, being plastic and brittle, when this starts getting worn, like you can see right there, what happens is once this starts getting ovaled out, it will never hold a bushing again. So that means this is junk, this is garbage, which is where this comes in. What we're going to do is make a cut here. See that little hole right there? We're going to slide that up on, use a set screw, and done. And this, what it does is, let me open it up here for you. It being how a Heim joint actually works, it allows motion. Still allows the same amount of torque that way as it does straight or whatever to be applied, and it won't actually, and since it can spin, it takes out all of the wear and stuff like that. Now, I would recommend a little WD-40 or something like that, just to give it a little more smoothness, but as is, it can run just fine as long as there's no dirt and stuff up in that. But even then, it's not going to be an issue. So now you know the who, what, where, and why. Let's get to it. Alright, so now that you've gotten your push rod fixed, you can see how bad this is all worn, torn up. This nut up here that is on the end of this arm is an 18 millimeter. It needs to be removed, and then you've got to coax this little pivot arm off. Okay, so after some back and forth, you can see the splines on this is like on the wiper motor for the wipers. Very tight fit. It's more of a press fit than anything. But now that it's out, you can see the deformation of that. That pin's supposed to be straight, but look at it. It's bowed and worn. So at this point, you got two different types. You got a press fit, and then you got this rivet set up. What I'm going to do is use my little handy dandy oscillating tool, cut through the pin, then I'll use my alignment dowel slash whatever here, and basically hammer it and press it back out. As far as this goes, like I said, this is a simple process. It's just now we got to get to it. Try a wrench. I just need it to be lifted up just a tad. So And like I said, you just keep hammering. Bam. All right, so I went ahead and you can see here, all right, so I went ahead and you can see here I've already spread it down WD-40 to make it easier to get this back on. Now, at this point, if your master cylinder isn't all wonky, you would have the rod already hanging out here, just already sitting there. Mine, not so much. So basically at this point I've got to clock this back the way it came off, otherwise it's not going to have the right pitch and it's not going to engage and disengage the clutch right. So there's that. I would recommend personally taking a paint marker, marking there so you can get it right back where it's supposed to go. I should have did that before, but I'm a dumbass, so now I got to do it all by feel. Alright, so I think I have this put back together the way it should be, based on my clutch rod isn't falling out and it's not seemingly touching anything. So now I'm just putting the nut back on and we're going to hope for the best. Now the instructions did state to not partially install this and then try to use the clutch, or it would strip those splines out and then you'd have to replace it all. So there's that. Yeah, once I get all this back together, I'll make another video here in a second showing how the actuation of it. Alright, so it seems to be all back together the way it should be. Let's try getting back here, see if we can see the spline portions. Apparently we can't, so we'll go ahead and tighten it up. The big bolt up there, the 18mm bolt, is as tight as I can get it. So now it's time to tighten up this bolt here, this Allen head that I was talking about earlier, and we'll see how it goes.